Hey guys, welcome back to another video for the how to draw. So we're gonna try to hopefully finish up this this illustration here. Pulling up my reference. Where is, there we go. Alright, so we have done this guy, this side. We're gonna work on this side as soon as I can find my pencil, because I don't know where I put it. Ah, here it is. Alright, so what we've got going on here is we've got a tarp area here. So we're gonna work on this side. So I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. Not zoom in, but so there we go. Actually, I might be able to zoom in. Let's try this. There we go. It's a lot better. So we're gonna work on this part here. So what we're gonna do is, I think what I want to do is I'm going to have a piece of wood here. And technically, if I wanted to, I could just make it like a circular hole if I wanted to. I'm gonna bring out my eraser, specifically my small one. But if you have a regular one, that's fine as well. Maybe I'll do that. I'll use the regular click eraser, because what we're gonna have to do is remove this, erase that line there, and then just gonna have to go back over and fix that. There we go. And then remember, because this is in perspective, we're gonna need our ruler, which I did not pull out. So we're gonna go here. This is where it's gonna go. Okay, this is gonna help us determine where that second piece of wood is, right? And if we want, so that's that one. Now we want this one to come down slightly for the second piece here. I think I'm gonna have it right here, kind of mending. I don't want it to fully connect here because of this area here. So we're not gonna draw it all the way down. And then the same thing that we did with this one, we need to figure out where this line goes. So we're gonna hit that up with the perspective. And just kind of go, just make a light line. So we know that that second stick is gonna go here. And if we want to figure out also the ground, we're gonna do the same thing. So that's the bottom of it here. And this, I don't have to draw it all the way through, right? I just can kind of have an idea of where it's going to go. No, it's going to end up right here. That's where that second one is going to go. I need to erase this line and this line here. And it looks bigger on the camera than it does in real life, just because I do have it zoomed in. So I'm going to erase as little as possible and then just go back in and re-put those lines in. That's why one of the exercises I had mentioned in when I was talking about learning pencil exercises was dealing with pencil pressure, because I don't want you guys to draw so hard that when you're erased, you're leaving marks within the paper itself. So we have these two, we have these four, technically three, but if we were to draw this fourth one, it would be here somewhere. You really wouldn't see it, so I'm not going to draw that in. But I do want to draw maybe a pole that's going to connect here, so that way it looks like, you know, there's something that's connecting these pieces of wood. So what we're gonna do, I'm just gonna go here, and then maybe here I'll draw it just a little bit lower than the horizon line. It's almost pretty much, it's almost the horizon line. What we're gonna do is we're gonna erase this a little, or erase this again. Do this again. Just clean those lines up. Once again, I'm still not drawing hard when I draw these lines in. Alright, so there's that. This is the horizon line. We're going to erase this one. I'll use my quick eraser just so I can remove that. Alright, so we have that. I'm gonna end up erasing just a little bit of that as well. It's maybe instead of maybe there's like a wall or something like that of a building in the back, so you wouldn't possibly see that horizon line. So anyway, now we're talking about cloth right here. So we're just going to do a basic representation of the cloth here. It doesn't need to be perfect, but just want to indicate that this is cloth that's kind of hanging down here. That, and then maybe here, and then we know that these connect, right? Because that's where the other one was. So here's this one, and then we're gonna dip this one like that. And if we want to, we can actually do something like this. What I'll do is I'll do this. This doesn't have to be perfect, but help indicate that this is like, say if this was like rope that was tying it together, something like that along those lines. And then you probably would see the other side, but I'm not going to draw that line across. But what I'm going to do is just draw the indicator of the rope, maybe. So there's that one, right? So now we're looking into maybe so this is like a rug, right? So let's go ahead and do the vanishing point, because I know this is where it's going to go. And we're just going to draw straight lines. I'll probably have it to where it's dropping down, so it's behind, right? And to prevent a tangent with this corner here, I'm just going to draw it a little bit below. Technically, I could have drawn a little bit lower, because I feel like this is still kind of close. But then, that's fine. And then maybe this one, we're going to go just above. Still drawing lightly above this part, because I want it to make it look like the the wood beams are sitting on the rug. So the rug is actually pretty large. And then we're gonna draw just some simple stuff here. We're gonna do like a bowl here. And maybe there's another bowl here. And then a third bowl. Maybe there's nothing in it. So remember, because we're looking, this is below the horizon line, we're gonna see the top of these objects. So maybe I'll do a circle just to kind of help indicate where that circle is. I'm going to erase here. I'll just clean this up a little bit. There we go. And then maybe there's something, I don't know what this is, but maybe it's just another something that they have, I don't know. And then there's this thing here. We're going to see the top of it. And then here. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a weird shaped vase, vase, whatever. And then maybe there's a big vase here that he has. This is the base, but maybe it's shaped like this. And you can, of course, do these however you want. I'm just keeping it simple here. And then maybe he's got some plates, just some stuff that he's got sitting here on the floor. I don't know. So there's that, right? And then if I want, I can just draw some random designs, squigglies, to make it look like there's designs or something like on these pieces of whatever. Right. And then maybe just do the inside so that way we show that there's, here we go. And maybe if I want, put some shading on the bottom of these to show that there's some space there. There we go. These not so much. And then since there's a person here, right? And then also what we'll do also to kind of help show that these planks have maybe some depth to them, is just kind of thicken that outer line that's away from us. Even the bottom a little bit, and then we'll do this here. And then remember, there's a person inside. So what we'll do, so I'm just going to draw like a little head here. And then I'm just going to do this to indicate that there's a person maybe sitting in there. Boom. So that's the person. Probably could. Something like that. There we go. If I wanted to show that this is kind of in the shade, I could just slightly go like that, and then maybe this area too, but not necessary. Actually, I'm not really feeling that. So let's erase that. Just slightly. All right, whatever. We'll leave it. All right, cool. So there's that guy. And then we had another tent back here, and this person was selling art. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna make this a trait tent and kind of freehand it. So maybe there's this tent here, right? And then I think we had the stick here. And then remember, it's going to this line here. And if you want, you can pull out your ruler, but because it's so close, I'm kind of freehanding it. And then maybe this I want to thicken up because I want to, I'm gonna have to erase some. I have to go in with a small eraser. Well, I don't have to, I could use the big one, but I have a small one available, so I'm gonna use it. What I'm gonna do is make it look like it's some type of design there, and then I'm just gonna kind of freehand this. What I am gonna do is I'm gonna make sure that that bottom matches up. Just drop some papers there. I'm gonna make sure this bottom lines up prospectively, and then there's another one here. And technically I could do this. So maybe there's some pieces here that they've got hanging or whatever the case may be. Pick up my paper here. So this is, maybe we'll do this landscapes or something, I don't know. So there's that, right? So this side is done, right? Because if we get any more into this, everything's kind of extremely small. I mean, we could kind of just wing some stuff in there, but you're not really gonna see anything. And then maybe there's like that, just kind of winging it here. And then something like that. And then maybe there's something like this. So there we go. Something. We're going to erase the horizon line that's intersecting with all this, because we don't need it there. So here, and then I guess I'm just kind of winging this because there's not really, can't really do too much. The image isn't big enough for me to really get in there and try to be all detailed with it. Maybe I'll do like, maybe I just do like this. So here, maybe there's a rug or something there. I don't know, something like that. We'll leave that there. So this is pretty much done on this side. Maybe we'll do something. Maybe this is like the back side of some buildings, right? So maybe there's some buildings that this is on the back side of. This goes up. And then maybe it's a tiered building. So maybe this is another building here. Let me see. And then go like maybe here. Like that, which means I can then go ahead and erase this stuff here. And then maybe there's another building. Maybe it's a higher building here. Because we don't know what type of town or city this is more likely a city than a town. I would assume if you're talking about fantasy wise that the larger the buildings are, I don't know what this is. I think this might be pencil shape. I don't know what that is on my paper. But I'm assuming in fantasy that that when you that I'm okay. Let me. Sorry, I was getting distracted. I'm assuming that when you're talking about fantasy buildings and probably just in general outside of like modern day, the smaller the community, the smaller the buildings. And I guess you might see that in small towns as well. They might have one-story shopping plazas versus these multi-floor malls, right? So an example would be, this is my thought process. If you're talking about like a what they call it, a hamlet, I think that's what it's called. Let me see. If you're looking also into fantasy making, I suggest Fantasy Map Maker. It's a book. It's really good. But yeah, so it talks about different cities. So yeah, you have the hamlet, which is a small settlement. Then you have a town, which they missed the village, which so how I think of it is you have a let me zoom out real quick, guys. You have a hamlet, then a village, then a town, then a city, and then from the city I would say you would have your castle from that point, right? Or a kingdom. Well, I think a kingdom encompasses land, like the surrounding areas or controlled areas. So then you have your castle. So how I think of a hamlet is like these are the buildings, right? Simple. A village, same thing. A village might be something like this, but maybe a chimney on the side, right? Just something on the side. This might be something like the tavern. Like if I'm thinking tavern size, right? A hamlet, you might have maybe 4 rooms. Just my thought process is trying to relate this to math. If you guys could see that, sorry guys, sorry. So a hamlet, a village, a town, a city, and then a castle. So a hamlet, if we were talking about taverns, this is what I think maybe how much beds they might have in like a tavern. Or this is going to help relate to size, because you can think of a tavern as a hotel. And I know this has nothing to do with actual drawing, but just like if you want to take this and build your own stuff, this is my thought process. So if you're thinking about building like environments in towns, because this is also going to help you figure out when you're drawing environments like this, the size of certain buildings to kind of help indicate maybe what you might be looking into. So like taverns, I'm thinking for a hamlet, maybe 4, maybe a village, maybe 6 to 8, a town, maybe you've got a secondary building, maybe 10, maybe 15 people, maybe a city, you might have multiple taverns, where they might house maybe 10 to 30 people. A tavern, maybe, I don't know, depends on the tavern. And then a castle, of course, would be larger. That's my thought process. So looking at the size of these buildings that I have, I'm thinking this is more of a city than an actual town, because these are large buildings, which means these were built over a longer period of time. and this place has the money to be able to sink into the construction and build up of this city. So that's my thought process. I know that was I hope I didn't. I probably left a mark somewhere on this paper. I just broke my pencil lid, but that's my thought process when it comes to this type of stuff. So this side's done outside of this building here, right? And we'll worry about that later. But now let's go ahead and work on this side. So let's go ahead and zoom in again. There we go. And let's start working on this side. So remember I said that this is going to be which means I can go ahead and remove this line across this guy's face because it's not needed. Right. So, actually, there we go. So this guy, I'm gonna still keep this here, but we're gonna work on this building here. So what I want to do is have these long poles, right? And if I wanted to, I could go ahead and bust out the ruler and make sure these are completely straight. But if you want to give them like a handmade, hand-carved feel to them, you don't have to draw them exactly perfect. And then maybe there's another one here. And because it's almost connecting with this particular figure, I'm not going to draw it all the way down to where it connects. I'm going to break that line. And that also helps with that clarity, being able to tell where something ends and something begins when it's not connecting like that. Like that. Erase these lines that I have in between here. All right, and then maybe we'll do another, we'll have this one higher, because remember, they've got this like either hanging seasonings or meat. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bring this across so it sticks out some, like this. I erase this so I can clean that up. And then what I'll do is then I'll do the same thing I did on the other one, where I'll draw these X's to kind of indicate that this is like roped up versus like nailed down or nailed in place. And I think that also helps tell the story of if this is like movable or if this is something that is there all the time. And then what we'll do, because I need to figure out where these other bars go, right? I'm just going to go here. And I'm going to go to like just kind of figure out roughly where this is going to go. And it's going to go down here. Like that, right? Actually, did I do that right? Yeah, I did. It's here is going this way, right? So technically when I drew this part, I drew it wrong. But if I want to kind of match it here, because maybe I want, there was no way that was matching. Maybe he's got something going on here. So there's a string that matches here. But I know that this bar here, or this pole here, goes here, right? And you guys are going to see what I'm about to do in a second. So, kind of rough it out here. I'm still drawing pretty lightly. I'm not drawing hard. Then remember, we still have to go to this back pole here. Do this over here. Go here, and then here, and it's kind of going here that way, which means this pole. You have to go here. So if we know this is here, I'm gonna guess and say that the other pole, or this is gonna go like right here where it's gonna cross, because the other pole would pretty much be almost where this is, and I don't want to draw another line to indicate it, because I feel like that's gonna just make it difficult to read. So we're just gonna do this. I'm going to clean up this. So that way this looks a lot cleaner. And I know technically I wouldn't have as much to clean up if I didn't have these guidelines that I put in there, but it did help me visualize things instead of just having a smaller. So, because what I did was I did this, right? I did this, I did my vanishing point, then I did lines from outside that vanishing point, right? I did this. If you guys saw the first video, you watched me do this. And then you guys saw me lay out the ground plane here, and then you had the sky plane, right? And that was my horizon. But this helped me be able to visualize things more than if I just did, instead of this, if I just did this and then just kind of roughed in where things were. This helps me a lot more because I have a guide already that I can kind of start laying stuff in and know roughly where the perspective might be. So it worked a lot better. So yeah, there's more cleanup, but for me, it's more beneficial. Now, if this doesn't work for you, but this does, where you just have the vanishing point, and then you decide to, do things that way, then, do that. But this is what works for me. At the end of the day, drawing is about finding what works for you and going off of that. Just because someone teaches you a certain way, yeah, it's cool to learn that so you have it in your toolkit. But if it's not working for you after working, trying it multiple times, then, but you found a way that does work for you, then do that. Put some more tape on here so that way this isn't moving as much. Also, I use washi tape to tape my paper down on my my drawing surface because it doesn't rip. Yeah, it's not as adhesive, but it's a benefit and a benefit and what's the word I'm looking for? Benefit and a disadvantage, because it does come up easier. So we're just going to draw this line here. I can erase all this. I don't need it. Oh, crap. I did need that line. Crap, crap, crap. So, so remember this is on the inside. So you would see this. You would see this pole here. So we're going to erase this and fix this up a little bit. So we're going to do this. Because you would see that. And then we're going to go, remember we've got that rope. So like that. But this part here, maybe there's grooves that they use. I don't know. We'll need to figure that out. But I'm going to erase all this on the inside here because I don't need it. And then we'll just do like little lines here, and then maybe there's stuff hanging here. Like I said, this could be some type of fruit. It could be dice. It could be hanging dried meat. It could be whatever it is. You don't have to necessarily know unless it's part of the story or you're doing some type of maybe some other, if you're doing a detailed drawing, then yeah, you might need to know what you're drawing or painting in there. So and then maybe there's something here. And these necessarily don't have to be lined up with the perspective, is because depending on what you're doing here, is if they're not the same, then you're probably not expecting it to line up. And maybe this is some type of vine, something that's hanging there, so whatever. And then what we'll do is maybe this guy's got like a sheet with his some type of design here. So what we're going to do, I'm going to do this because that top line, so it's here, and then talking about fabric here. I know this probably is incorrect, but just get it here and here, something like that, and then probably wouldn't see too much on this side, but maybe there's some type of design here on the sheet. I don't know. Just kind of put something in there. So there's nothing really too special about this that I wanted to, just want to kind of break some stuff in, break it up a little bit, and then I need to fix this line here. So I'm going to erase some of this, because I need to erase that horizon line that was going through. This is why I said it's good to make sure we're not drawing too hard, because if you're trying to make sure that some of that stuff isn't showing up, like that horizon line isn't showing through your art, or doesn't need to, you can't have it etched into the paper pretty much. So we're going to draw this stuff here. And like I said, this could be a carpet, and I know we're not like going in and drawing designs or drawing the fabric and stuff, but don't really think it's needed. Like I said, this isn't like a full-on illustration piece that we're going to be putting in a portfolio or anything like that. This is just something to kind of show some of the Just give an idea, an example of what you can do with 1 point. So we've got this box, this basket here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to draw where I kind of want it, and then I'm just going to make it a weird, not like a weird, but I'm going to make sure that I want a basket that's not just a straight, regular basket when it's with some shape to it. So I drew the original shape. Get my ruler here. And then we're going to draw those lines to meet that perspective. So we're going to go here. All right, we're just going to go, that's where it's going to go. And what I'll do is I'll just bring this down just a little bit. Same thing with this one. We're going to go here. We're going to go here. And we're just going to kind of guess where those lines are. I'm going to clean this line up just a little bit. So like this. There we go. And what we're going to do is, it goes back here, we're going to go ahead and draw these in here, because these might be melons or whatever. I don't know what they are, but they're in there. Probably stacked pretty weirdly. And then remember this part here, you're going to go like that. And then we can shade this in, because that's going to be covered. That shadow, it's going to be shadowed in by the objects that are in there. And we can clean this up. We've got those lines in there. So we're going to clean that up a little bit. That's why I say it's sometimes good to work from the foreground to the background, so that way it's easier to erase stuff when you're overlapping. And then maybe there's here, this is going to be a weird one. So what we're going to do is I'm going to have an idea of where this like square is, right? So this would be a square. And then I'm going to draw an oval within that square. And then it's kind of go like this. So show you how I did that pretty much. I lined this up. I pretty much made a square in perspective. I did like this. And I'm guessing this is where I would want the box to end, right? So pretty much I made like a box. And then within this top side, I made a, let me erase this. I'll do it again for you. Within this top box, I made a oval or a circle in perspective that kind of fits within that. Just think of an oval, and then I'm bringing it down to kind of meet. So that's why I say we practice ovals. We're not going to talk about ovals in perspective right now. That's not what we're too concerned about. Just wanted to kind of lay that out here. I'm going to erase some of this stuff so I can see if I can draw a cleaner oval than what I have. Doesn't have to be perfect. Or as long as, for the most part, as long as it looks right, you're fine. Right now I'm being nitpicky. I'm gonna draw this part. I'm gonna erase this backside just a little bit. I'll lighten it up, and then I'm gonna put these sticks in here. And I'm doing the ones that I want in the front first, so that way I don't have to try to erase through them when I do the back. I do need to erase these lines though. And then maybe there's one here. And then maybe there's another one here. I don't know what these are. I'm just putting it in there. I don't know what it is, but it's now it's something in there. And then we're gonna just. Now, if I didn't have a small eraser, I would just go in and lightly erase and then redraw, like I had been doing, like you guys have been seeing me do. And even with my small eraser, because it's not that tiny, there are certain areas where I have to go in and redraw what I've erased. So. This, remember, because this is in front of this needs to come up a little bit more. It goes like that. There we go. Now we can finish drawing in this line here. There we go. And I can just clean some of this up. Here's some of this here. Doesn't have to be perfect. There we go. Just erasing some of these excess lines here. All right, cool. Oh. All right. Oh. All right, so we've got I think two more. We've got this guy here, this guy here. That's part of the same guy. This is part of the same guy. And then maybe, I can't remember how I did this. All right, we'll figure it out. Hi, big boy. Hey, big boy. What you doing? What you doing? I've got 7 behind me. All right, cool. So, no, don't you do it. Don't you do it. I know you think about hopping up here. So we got this guy, and then I think there's just one here. So what we're going to do is we're going to freehand it for the most part because we're getting closer here. We're going to go ahead and draw this line here. What I'm going to do is actually I'm going to lighten this up a little bit. I have an idea of what I want to do with this. So I know there's going to be a pole here and a pole there. So we're going to do this. And unfortunately, because I'm using my hand to move this stuff out the way, it is kind of smearing some of the art. But that's okay. And then I forgot what my idea was for this, but that's okay. We'll do the same thing we did on the other ones. We'll have this pole here. Maybe we'll do this. We'll make it, this is more like a permanent pole here. So we'll do this one, and then maybe the top one, and then maybe he's got something like this. Actually, maybe he's got something like, I want to do like a line. There we go. Maybe something like that. And then How did I have this one? Hey, big boy. No. Maybe there's no way I had it this far. Maybe here. There we go. Let's do this. So, hey, big boy. Got Simmons about to try to jump on me. I've known him long enough to know when he's about to make his attempt. No. I know you're trying to. I know you're trying to. I know it. I know it. And nope. And I knew it. No. I say no. I say no. Good boy. Yep. All right. So we'll have it here. And what we'll end up doing, I'm going to have to erase a good chunk of this stuff here. And then if this is here, we'll try to make here would be here. This one, I think I actually did this a little too high. Actually, not too bad, not too far off. So the other pole would be on this side here. And then we're gonna have this go here, across. And there's a way you can even measure this stuff, but we're not doing all. Actually, stop. Actually, we might do that. Go ahead and do this. Stop it. It goes here. And then we'll just do a line here. Like that. And then we'll cut across here. And then maybe the back side connects that way too. So I'll just have an indicator maybe of this to show that it connects somewhere there. And I'm just gonna have to clean a lot of this up because it's not it is not. Stop. It is not clean lines here. If you want something that's more cleaner than this, looks a little bit neater, use the ruler for all your lines if you'd like. And then maybe this I would have this covered. So maybe I want something like this. I'm gonna do a design, maybe that way I can know where it falls in between, like that. But then I'm gonna do like this. I'm gonna do like that. So then I'm gonna have to go in and erase. Like that. There we go. Not perfect, but it's something. And then there's a guy here. So he's got faces and stuff. What I'm going to do, I'm going to draw this back. I'm going to draw this further down. Erase all this stuff here. And if you wanted to have a cleaner version of this, you could always just go ahead and put a piece of paper over it and trace. to make it cleaner. So mind you, this is above the horizon line. So we're going to see more of the bottom of it, not the top. This is above the horizon line too. So we'll do this like that. And then this one, we'll do like a wide. Ooh, I don't know what was doing there. We'll do a wide bottom like this. And then something like that. And then there's a guy here. This will also help indicate the scale of these vases because they're pretty much taller than he is. And then maybe this is slightly above or slightly below. And this one. We're just kind of quickly throwing these in here. Maybe there's another vase here. Something like this. And then maybe, remember, because we have this here, so that's that. And then goes back here. And if we want, show these just are on the ground here. We need to something like that. Maybe there's another, that's what it was. I think there's another building that we don't see the product to. It's just kind of hidden almost a little bit further back. So something like that. And then maybe it's in the back somewhere, you don't see it. And then what we'll do is to kind of show that it's hidden, was kind of shaded in a little bit. You don't really see it. It's just kind of in the distance there. And maybe the same thing with this one. There's someone sitting here. It's kind of free-handed. All right, and maybe they've got something. And I know this is not in perspective, but I'm just gonna, like I said, we're free-handing some stuff. Maybe if I wanted to, I would actually lighten this up. I wouldn't have this as dark. Because at that point, we're talking about more atmospheric perspective, which is pretty much like saying, like, hey, the further something that gets, the harder it is to see it. It's not as clear, it's not as focused. And then what we'll do is we'll draw some people in the background as well. And how we're going to do that, I'm just going to take this guy here, line him up with a perspective grid. And this is going to help indicate maybe the height of some of these people back here. And we're just going to do like that. I'm just going to draw small people to help maybe put some make it seem like we actually have people who are in this world. Maybe there's another guy here. So, and it's not gonna be in this clip. I don't think. Well, because there's a way that you can determine the length of the height of a character. You can probably see what I'm doing here. Doesn't really matter. You can just kind of guess at this point where you think these people should be. So I'll make it look like there's some people there. Then we'll just draw some lines back here for the buildings. So remember, we'll do kind of the same thing we did back here. Just gonna go ahead and do a horizontal line, maybe like right, not a horizontal line, but a perspective line right here. Maybe this will be here. We'll expand that bridge here. And then maybe instead this will just go straight up here. Indicate that. And then we'll erase this, all of this, and here. This way we can even flesh this drawing out. And then we'll do here. There we go. I'm gonna erase this stuff and the sky plane. I'm gonna fix this though, so that way this is actually in perspective, this building here, because I promise you, if you have one building, if all your buildings are in perspective and you have one building that's not in perspective, it's going to stick out. Like you're going to be like, something isn't quite right about that building, even if you don't know what it is offhand, but something's going to feel off about that building. Actually, I'm not even going to do there's a way to figure out perspective for slanted roofs, but because we're just going to make everything simple, we're not going to do that. They'll just have flat roofs. And then what we'll do, we'll clean up this background here, erase that vanishing point. All right. This is the horizon line though, so we'll still have that in there. But this is that tunnel area. And kind of thickening up that line kind of shows that there's some depth there. And then so what we'll do after we've done everything, right, for the most part, this is about as detailed as I'm gonna go. Like I said, I just kind of wanted to show you guys what you can kind of do with 1 point perspective. What we'll do is we'll draw maybe a cloud here. You would kind of see the underside of a cloud like that, something like that. And honestly, when you would be talking more about the rendering to kind of help show you guys that you're seeing the underside. Something like that. There we go. Sorry for shaking my camera there. And then what we'll do, I still want to clean this up just a little bit. And then what we'll do is we'll just kind of lightly shade in the ground plane just to give it a little bit of separation here. A little bit more depth. And then maybe just a little bit over these buildings. And maybe on the back side of this building, be a little bit darker. And maybe the bridge here, the sides that's towards, that's a little bit darker. All right, there we go. There is our drawing here. Darken a few areas up. I hope that you guys found this useful. Kind of get an idea of what you can do for 1 point. We do have a few more, 2 more illustrations that we're going to do in 1 point perspective. And then I'll give you guys an assignment. I know the dreaded assignments here. But this will help you get used to drawing things in 1 point perspective outside of the that basic town grid or railroad tracks. So maybe I'll do some shading here. You don't have to do all this. This is just me throwing some extra stuff in here. But brings a little bit more character to, I think, to the artwork. So yeah, that's it. I hope this was helpful. So I think we've overall spent about 1 hour and 40 minutes on 2 hours, sorry, 2 hours and 40 minutes on this illustration. Like I said, once again, if you feel like you don't have the patience to spend that much time on a piece of art, and but you really want to get that practice in, you can either take it down to the bare bones, which was kind of how we started, which is kind of just the sketch and kind of maybe just lay out everything in perspective, finite perspective, or you can shrink those images down. So you draw the bigger piece, figure out where the perspective point is and the horizon line, and then just start shrinking those images so where you still have this 1 point perspective. It's clearly 1 point perspective, but you're just limiting the size of the image. So you could just pick maybe one side of the street that you want to really focus on and do, and then just have the other side undone and do it that way. And just slowly start building up your patience to do maybe bigger or more detailed pieces. So that's it for now, guys. I hope, like I said, I hope you guys found this entertaining and informative. And the next illustration, we have 2 more illustrations. It will be between the library or the temple. So maybe we'll do the temple next. And then maybe I'll leave the library as maybe an assignment. I'm not sure. So hope you guys found this useful once again. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.